born in Nebraska. I lived in a little old house way out in the country, it was about 20 miles from town. It was a small town, real small. I don't know how many people, but it was small. And then we moved out to the farm in north of Kimball, which is about 20 miles. We had a long house. Well, it was built for a garage. And we lived in there for, I guess, till I was about 12 years old, maybe, 11. And it was a cold house. What we burnt for heat, what we used for heat was cow chips. You know what cow chips are. Made a good hot fire. That's what we kept warm with most of the time.
I was born in Minnesota, Cass County, northern central Minnesota, about 40 miles north of Brainerd, if anybody knows where Brainerd is. It's right straight west of Duluth, about the central part of the state. Well, they always said I weighed about 11 pounds. I don't know. Don't remember. 6 of us all together, 2 girls and 4 boys. We didn't have what was a real big farm. It was about 14 acres is all it was, but we grew all our own vegetables and potatoes and rutabaga and everything, sweet corn and all that for the coming winter, you know. Put all that stuff in the cellar and then you had something to eat all winter.
I had a brother and a sister. My brother was about 5 years older than me. My sister was 4 years older. And we lived in that house there for, let's see, I was about 12 years old, I guess, when we moved to another house closer to the city, of the big city of Kimball, which wasn't very big. It had, it had one grocery store, I remember, it's where we got our groceries, and the post office was next to it. I think we had a little variety store, and there was a tavern or saloon it was, on one side of the street. I can remember that very clearly. I'll tell you that story about the horse.
We used to work in the garden and pull weeds and hoe weeds and pick potato bugs off the vines. One time, Dad he said, I'll give you $0.50 for bugs you get off of the potatoes. And so we went out and didn't take very long to get 100. And he thought, oh boy, that's too expensive. So we cut it down to a penny 100. We still picked bugs and made a few cents.
One time I fainted in school. I was getting my lesson from the teacher. I was standing alongside of her, and all at once everything started to look black, and I thought, gee, it's getting dark early tonight. And I passed out like a light. When I came to, nobody was in the schoolhouse. They had scared them all to death. They all run out. They was going home to get my mother. But I thought, my gosh, I don't want anybody to see me sitting on the floor here. And so I got up and I walked out. Everybody's out in the yard, schoolyard, ready to go get my parents. There was an iron ball about so big, and I had a rope on it, and I was swinging it around my head like that, and I got it too low, and it went round and round and round, and boom, hit me right in the elbow. Well, I passed out like a light there, too. Nobody knew it. I came to and got unraveled and went on about my business, I guess.
Art, my brother, and Glenn, which later was my brother-in-law, later used. There were some people that moved in and they unloaded a bunch of stuff on the sidetrack there at the railroad. And there was an empty barrel sitting there, and apparently it had been a gasoline barrel. But Art and Glenn were smoking, and somehow a spark got in that barrel, and it went boom, and it went about 50 feet in the air. And there we were sitting right by the barrel, and we jumped and got out of the way.
Did your mother come see what the boom was?
Yeah, she come running across the back lot to see what happened. It's a wonder we didn't get our ears blowed off.
I don't know how old I was, 2, 3 years old. But we was riding down through town in a buggy, and We had one horse and the buggy. We just got over the railroad tracks, and then we was right in town, and there was a liquor place right on there. What do you call them? A saloon right on the right side. And by the time we got to that saloon, the horse started to run after it heard that train blow, and took off down that street like crazy. So my mother picked me up by my arms and just set me over the side and dropped me on the ground. I thought she threw me away, really. I thought she threw me away. But anyway, some old man come out and picked me up, scared the living heck out of me. I thought he was going to keep me. But I didn't have nothing to do with him. Oh, boy.
Well, I couldn't have been over 2 or 3 years old, maybe. I don't know why or how, but I fell in the toilet through the hole in the seat in the outer toilet, you know, backyard privy or whatever you call it. And Ma had a heck of a time cleaning me up. She said it'd be easier to make a new one than to clean me up.
My aunt was pretty well to do, and she got nice things for her daughter. Of course, she lived in another state. But she sent out this doll and mailed that out to Mother with some clothes, because Mother was real good at fixing clothes over, so that's what we did. And she sent this doll. It had a cut in its head, you know, it was slit like a three-cornered cut in its head. And I never could figure out why that doll had a cut in its head. That always bothered me, till I realized it was an old doll. Something happened to it. Somebody tried to butcher it, I think. But it had just a complete square cut, you know. Poor doll. It was a good doll, though. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. First doll I ever had.
Art was 2 years old when I was about, going on 5 maybe at the time. He yelled at me, and he was up in the attic in this old house we lived in. And I went up there, and he had a piece of hose about 2.5 or 3 foot long. And he said, let's try something. He said, you put your mouth on this end, and I'll put my mouth on this end, and we'll see who can blow the hardest. So I put my mouth on, just got it up to my mouth, and he blowed. And he had piddled in that hose. And I got a mouthful of pee, as you want to call it. Then I chased him away across the yard with a hose swinging it and couldn't catch him.
You killed him if you caught him.
He run like a wild rabbit. Oh, this is good. Then one time, this was before I went to school, Fern and Art and I, there was a slough pond down across the road and across the field where we'd go down and slide around on the ice, skate or whatever. And Art was bad for playing with matches, and so he got a whole bunch of grass together, and he said, I'll make a little fire to keep warm. Out on the ice, wind came along, and whoosh, it went, and it got over into the slough grass, and it lit up the whole damn slough. I had to call the neighbors in to help put the fire out. And Ma paddled his butt good for that.
I hooked a coyote out of his den. It hadn't be along where I was riding the horse. I tied her to the fence, and I looked in that crevice where it was all open. It was the place where they could hide. I looked in there, and there's 2 little coyotes. I thought, oh boy, I gotta get one of those. So I went over to the fence, and I found a piece of wire, made a chicken hook out of it, and went and hooked the coyote. Got him, took him home. He bit me on the way home. So, and then and I'd found a little lamb earlier that was from a storm. He went into a straw pile where it was warm for him, and I found him there, so I brought him home. Well, that was my 2 pets, the little lamb and the coyote. Well, folks had me go to visit my grandmother, and I was gone for about a week. When I come home, both the lamb and the coyote was gone. They always said he got away, but I think they let him go. They never did tell me.
We got a little pig one time from the neighbor. The old sow had pigs, and she stepped on one of them and broke its leg. And this farmer asked us kids if we was over there visiting, and he said, "You kids want this little pig, or I'll have to destroy it?" I said, "Yeah, we'll take it." So we brought it home, and luckily we had an old dog that had puppies at that time. And we put the pig in with the puppies, and it nursed on the mommy dog until it got old enough to start drinking milk out of a pan or a dish. And its leg healed up, but it always limped and had a crooked leg.
Then you ate it.
And then when it got big and fat and weighed about 200 pounds, my dad butchered it. And we didn't like that. How about the time the calf dragged you and skinned your butt?
Let's not talk about that.
Well,
Oh, no, come on, let's hear that one.
Oh, God. My sister and I, we always had a job of taking the calves. We had 2 calves. We used to stake them out every morning, and then we'd bring them at night they'd let them nurse on the cows. And so that was our job to bring them in at night. So my sister, she got hers, and they were getting so big we couldn't handle them. So you had to put we call a noser, put over their nose and down, so you had some control of them. So she got hers on her calf, and her calf took off. Well, I wasn't ready for mine, and mine took off too, and I was standing in the rope. So it wrapped around my leg and it dragged me about a half a block on gravel, on rocks, I should say. Boy, I couldn't sit down for a month. Every time I'd move, oh, it cracked. Oh, God, I got teased more about that than anything I ever did. Believe me, I never forgot that. That really hurt.
my dad was, he was about, 8, 9 years older than my mother, but he was working on a dredging crew over in western part of Illinois, where my mother lived when she was a child. Anyway, they got acquainted. I think she was about 15 or 16 when they got married. And Fern and Art were born there in Illinois, and then they moved to Minnesota, where I was born. And then they moved back to Illinois when I was about 13 years old. He was a carpenter. He was a very good carpenter. He did carpenter work most of the time. And Ma was busy raising 6 kids. But we all got along fine.
She was did secretarial works. Before she got married, she was a stenographer and so forth. She was a real smart woman, very smart. Too bad I wasn't smart like her. She was real smart. And she knew how to stretch money, and she was good at doing everything. She could sew, she could crochet, she did everything. But milk cows, she could chew the line on milking a cow, no way. She raised her chickens and her ducks and her turkeys and all that, but she would not milk a cow. She didn't even want to try to learn how. My dad was a hard-working man, too. Yeah, he would have been a good baseball player, but his dad wouldn't let him go. He had a chance to go into Chicago and try out with the leagues in there, and his dad wouldn't let him go to Chicago. Didn't want him in that big city. He'd have been good. He really was a good ball player. He probably would have been real good at it. He missed his calling. He really did.
Well, I'd seen her before. She worked in a tavern there for Dewey, where when they first opened up Prohibition, they were selling beer, and the place the guys working for, we'd go over there and have dinner some once in a while, like on Wednesday night, and stuff like that. That's where I first met her. Later years, we got together and wound up getting married.
Well, I think when I met him, I thought he was handsome. We went to movies. We went We didn't go to dancing because he didn't dance. But we went to movies and went out with friends and went to fairs and stuff like that.
It was on the 4th of July, a holiday. We got married and then we went to Starved Rock for the rest of the day.
And you had to go work the next
State Park, and then went back to work the next day.
And I made, what, $8 a week working for a doctor?
Something like that. But anyway, I had a chance to, I was pretty good at machine work and whatever, mechanical work. Had a chance to go to work in a factory there that built vacuum pumps for milking machines. Surge milker, as they called it. And when I told the guy I was working for that I was thinking about going to this other job, he said, "Oh, don't do that." He said, "I'll pay $30 a week." And I said, "Well, I've already committed myself." So I went down and went to work, and the first week I made $37. And I thought, boy, I was rich.
Glad I moved.
65 cents an hour you got. I think it was at that time. Oh, I was happy about it. I was glad that we was going to have a family, I guess. No reason why I shouldn't have.
We had two of the greatest kids in the world.
Yes, I stayed right into delivery when Diane was born. The nurse told me to leave, but the doctor didn't, so I just stayed right there.
He said as long as he behaves himself, he told me as long as he behaves himself, I don't care if he's in there.
Yeah.
He said I don't want to have to pick him up off the floor in a faint.
And then when Peggy was born, I dropped her off and
Went back.
Parked the car, and by the time we got back in, she was in the delivery room having the baby already. So I didn't get in on that one.
That one didn't take long. He was kind of upset he didn't get to come in.
Well, it was an experience. The doctor explained everything to me about all the birth and all that kind of stuff and the afterbirth. And so it was worth.
That was with
It
Diana.
was quite educational.
They were pretty girls too, believe me. I think one of them was a little bit ornery than the other. You can't guess which one that is, can you?
Peggy would say what she thought, and Diane would. You could see her smolder, but she wouldn't say
She
it.
wouldn't say it. And she'd get real mad at us about something, but she'd never say a word. But Peggy was mad. She'd let you know about it.
She wanted the last word.
Yep, she'd have the last word if you killed her.
Oh well.
She's still that way, isn't she? Diana was real little.
She was 3 years old.
No, she was younger than that. When she went out into the street, and I didn't want her to get out in the street, and I went out and got her, and I paddled her a little bit and told her she could not go out in the street. And she didn't understand that too good, but a day or so that I went by the same place, and there was a dead bird laying out in the street, so I went and got her, and I took her out there, and I said, "See that dead bird out there?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, you remember when you was out in the street?" "Yes." I said, "Well, that's what a car can do to you, what it did that little dead bird, if you get out in the street." She never went in the street again.
Never once did
Nope.
she ever go out in the street again.
And she kept Peggy out of the streets, too.
That was a good lesson for her.
It was. It really was. She never forgot it.
They moved into a house, and it had upstairs bedroom and a stairway, kind of an open stairway. Peggy was about, what, 3, 4 years old. She started down the stairs one day, and she stumbled and fell all the way downstairs and just bounced like a rubber ball. I ran to try to catch her, and I got there too late.
Oh, yeah, I took her to church, and she sat there making a lot of... I don't think she went to church after that. We lived neighbors to but she was a real nice person. She was good-hearted. She'd do anything for you. She just was good-hearted, but she was a very, very dirty housekeeper. I mean, she was filthy. When she got her dish, she never did dishes, so all the dishes were dirty. I don't blame her, because every time I went over there, she had the table piled with dishes. But she was real good-hearted, and I had Peggy over there with me one day, but she wasn't cleaning her house either. She had a dirty house. But I was over there with her one day, and we was talking, and we was out in one room, and then there was a little bedroom off of the room that we was was talking, and Peggy kept down on the floor, and she kept looking in the bedroom there and looking under the bed, because she could see some of John's toys under there. So this woman said, well, Peggy, go ahead, you can play with those toys. Go down there and get those toys out from under the bed. And Peggy didn't say anything, and she said, go on now, Peggy, you get those toys out from under the bed and play with them. John don't care. And she said, no, I'm get all dirty. She said, well, I know my house isn't very clean, but it sure isn't that bad. Peggy wasn't about to get dirty. It was dirty, too. We had two Santa Clauses one year, remember? One Santa Claus came and another one came.
Well, that was up in Illinois. That's before we moved to Florida. Yeah. Grandpa Speck, he come in as a Santa Claus, and then Bill, who was it? Bill Connell, wasn't it?
Bill Connell, I think. He decided he's
your
coming.
uncle, he came in, and Diane, she went to open the door, and she couldn't believe it. She backed up all the way across the room just looking at him.
One came, and then another one came.
The two Santa Clauses.
She probably never did get that straightened out.
A friend of mine was hunting or whatever, and he found this bunch of little coons, baby coons. I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and he brought one, and he gave one to me, and I brought it home, and it was still kind of wild. It wasn't tamed like it would have been later, but we put it in the stairway going down the basement that night. Next morning, I reached up in the basket to get it, and it bit my thumb. Grabbed me by the thumb and bit me. So after that, I grabbed him by the back of the neck, and like you pick up an animal or a cat or whatever, and then it didn't bite no more. Then later, the kids, it got to where the kids would be out in the yard playing, and they'd run up the cherry tree, and then they'd run and hide around the corner of the house, and the coon come down and look to see where they went. And then they'd go up and up down the sidewalk, coon. People driving by would stop and look to see the coon.
Coon and 2 kids and a dog.
Yeah.
The folks came down here to live. They wanted to move, so we moved with them. Chester said, you find a place down there and we'll move. So they did.
Well, they were taking care of Mrs.
Somebody's home house.
What was her name?
I don't remember her name.
They were taking care of that house during the winter, renting rooms. Anyway, we came down and picked them up and drove home in a car with them that one time, and I liked what I saw here, and I said, well, you come back this fall, you'll find a house we can all live in for a while. Well, we'll move down there, and sure enough, that's what happened. 1951, we landed here about the 10th of December. We lived there, and I made the payments on the house for them until it was paid for. And then I started building the house on the extra vacant lot they had there. And I went ahead and built that. Took about a year, a little over a year, doing most of it myself. And so everything worked out fine.
Well, they gave us that lot, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Said they had 2 lots, the one their house sit on and the one in the back. So
And,
that helped a little bit, too.
So it was handy. We just crossed the backyard from the 2 houses, you know. It wasn't a big fancy house, but it was comfortable and livable.
Every time we went to football game and you paddled Peggy.
Oh.
Oh, see, remember that time?
Yeah, well, I hated that after.
So what happened?
She wanted to go with us. She just had a fit because she had to stay with Grandma and Grandpa.
Well, we was going to the ball game over at the other side of Clewiston, is what it was. And
With a couple friends.
Peggy was going to stay with Grandma Speck and Grandpa. And Grandpa told her something, and then she said, shut your mouth, or something like that. And I went back and patted her butt a little bit and told her to behave. She didn't appreciate that.
He didn't want her to be talking back to Grandpa. She was very unhappy about it.
Both the girls, when they got into well, it was high school, I guess. You're both in the band. You played as, what was it?
Clarinet.
Clarinet. And Diane played the flute. And Diane went on up with the band and got to be head majorette in the band. And we followed up with the kids going to all the football games and all that kind of stuff, just to pass the time or whatever. We enjoyed it.
Well, of course, that was wonderful. And I was, I guess, I was down when Terry was born. Wasn't I?
When she got out of the hospital, she came and stayed with us for a few days to recuperate.
Terry, Bill, Tony, Charlie. Seen them all born. I didn't see them born, but I was there with them.
Yeah, I
All
remember.
four.
Bill was as happy as a lark because he got
yes.
his baby boy.
They could probably brought him in a little poodle dog and he would have loved it. Oh, we loved him to death. Probably spoiled him to death, too.